Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of What Ted Says, where it's always time to get a fatter wallet, a leaner budget, and a bigger net worth. That's what we're doing here at whattedsays.com. Today, how do you turn a 529 plan into a Roth IRA? It's a question that I get often. Now, a 529 plan can be a really useful tool, and you need to look at your state rules to figure out how that's going to work. Not only is it for a child's education, but how about a child's retirement? So these accounts, when parents set them up, they can cause a lot of uncertainty. Do I max fund them? What's the money going to be used for? What happens if my child says, Mom, Dad, one day I don't want to go to college, or they don't use all the money for college? Should I give it to another beneficiary? Can my niece or nephew use it? What happens if they get scholarship money? These are all questions that may come up. Or what if they just decide that you saved $100,000 and they want to go to a cheaper school? What can you do with the money? The rules to me were unfair around 529 plans. Now, here's what happened. Good news. Recent legislation has changed. And I think it's going to put a lot of your concerns to rest here on 529 plans, because distributions from 529 plans, they can give beneficiaries of these accounts, your children or your grandchildren, a huge boost in retirement. Because starting in 2024, and this is a big number, you're probably going to want to write this down, you're going to be able to penalty-free move a lifetime limit of $35,000 from a 529 plan into a Roth IRA account. These are going to be the contribution limits at a maximum. Now, it's not all going to be $35,000 in 1 year, so I want to explain this to you, because what you have to do is use the annual contribution limit and also use the income limits of the beneficiary, not you, but your beneficiary, to basically take those 529s and convert them over to a Roth IRA. How did this even come about? Well, this was underneath a new provision in Secure Act 2.0. Many times people hear all these rules, they don't know how they work. That's why we get to What Ted Says, because we want to break them down for you. But it's a huge overhaul in parts of the overall American retirement system, especially people who didn't know how to fund a Roth IRA. So let's break this down about 529s and the advantages and disadvantages and how to do this conversion. First of all, the max that you can put into a plan in a year is $17,000 per year per individual, meaning if you're a married couple, it can be $34,000 a year. Additionally, if you wanted to in 1 year, you can front load this contribution, which means you can do 5 years of contributions at one time as a catch-up. See, states, the federal government, they understand that, and you won't have to pay any gift tax at all. That's why that 17,000 number is, because as it stands today in 2023, that's the gift tax rule. Now remember, the monies in these accounts grow tax deferred. That means is as they're growing, I'm not paying any taxes on it. And if the money comes out for those qualified education and or other expenses, it's going to come out on a tax-free basis. It's important when you buy a 529 plan that you look at the state that you live in, because some states offer state income tax deductions. State of Georgia, for example, is up to $8,000 per year per child. Even for yourself, which is why I want you to think about this, even if you're an adult, you may be able to set up a 529 plan, but you want to look at those tax breaks in your total calculation. Given that the cost of college since the year 2000 has been basically double the rate of inflation, it would seem like it would be a pretty good idea to set up a 529 plan. Now, you always want to talk to your financial advisor or counselors, but you've also got to think about how you weight the money, in my mind, for your beneficiaries, because with these new rules, you can not only roll it over to a Roth IRA, but remember, if money's come out and you don't use them for colleges, you could be subject to that 10% penalty on the growth of the account. Remember, you're never double taxed on your principal. It's the growth of the account that we're talking about and that you need to pay attention to. So how do these rules work? Now, here's the key to this. Number one, the 529 plan. You've got to hold it for at least 15 years. This is why it makes so much sense to open up an account and make contributions when your children are very young. But I have to say something. Even if you're 45 years old and you're out of college and you set one of these up for yourself, you're probably not going to retire until you're 60 or 65. That could give you 15 years to basically grow the money. Now, when you convert the money, the annual conversions can't exceed the IRA contribution for the 529 plan, meaning that if you're going to move money over and it's $6,500 a year or $7,000 a year, you can't move the $35,000 all over at one time. I ran some math, and here's what it is. If you did this and you converted the money when you were the age of 27, you're out of college now, you've got money left over in the plan, and then you grow it and you let it sit there until the age of 67 at a 7% hypothetical return, it would mean an extra roughly $500,000 in retirement. That's not just a $500,000, it's a $500,000 tax-free. You're not subject to required minimum distributions. And by the way, if you pass away, those assets will go to your heirs. You're not subject to the new 10-year IRA distribution rules that came out in Secure Act 2.0. Bottom line, everyone thinks a 529 is just a college education account, but you know what? Nothing could be further from the truth. This account can be used for you as an adult. It can be used for grandchildren or many other ways to help people boost their retirement. So what do you do from here? Well, check out your state's 529 plan. Talk to your financial advisor. DM me right here at What Ted Says, and I can get into further detail. And I got to tell you, these are the kinds of tips that can give you that fatter wallet and that bigger net worth. And that's this episode of What Ted Says.